Cool. So, welcome to part two. I decided that just to record a part two right after part one, but post it like a week later. Um, if you're new here, I live in New York, so it's really loud. And I post whatever I want. It's just my vlog, I call it, my video log. Right now I'm doing a series where I'm reading from this PDF called Presentation Military Memetics Tutorial 13 December 2011. Yeah, 2011. It's from a university, or so I presume, and the first part, if you haven't watched it, is all about like definitions for memes, tons of definitions for what a meme is and different ways of understanding what a meme is. So if you want to watch that, I will, and it's on my channel. I'm making a playlist of all of these, but for this one, I'm just gonna keep reading the next sections and just reacting to it. And I don't know how long I'm gonna go, but yeah, subscribe, thumbs up, comment, ring the bell. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed, just turn the video off, basically. No, it's okay. You could keep watching. It's fun. I'm just going to read like a slideshow, and we just follow along. Okay. Our pragmatic definition of meme. We created a pragmatic definition of a meme to elicit comments and improvements, eventually converge to a canonical definition that will be used in establishing a scientific basis for memetics. These people really want to get a scientific basis for memetics that is like genetics. A concise version. A meme is information which propagates, has impact, and persists. We will elaborate on this definition, and we will elaborate on the meanings of the terms of this definition: information, propagate, impact, and persistence. This is interesting because memes, the study of memes, the deep study of memes, is funded by the military for military purposes. And so what we describe and understand as foundational science for memes is through the lens of military application, if that just needs to be understood. Okay. Elaborating on our definition of the meme. Here's a more elaborate definition. A meme is information, using Shannon's definition as that which reduces uncertainty, transmitted by one or more primary sources to recipients who, as secondary sources, retransmit the information to at least an order of magnitude more recipients than primary sources, where propagation or the information persists at least 10 hours and the information has observable impact in addition to its transmission. To distinguish a meme from other sorts of information, we invoke an order of magnitude rule and place an emphasis on the necessity of a threshold for propagation and persistence. They're adding measurable effects to the definition, like saying good morning isn't a meme to them, I guess, since it's a common daily utterance. However, I would think of it as a meme for sure, but it may just not be applicable to, it's not what they're studying for the military. Okay. Our pragmatic definition of a meme. Computer, define pragmatic.
As an adjective, pragmatic is usually defined as of or relating to a practical point of view or practical considerations. As a noun,
Alexa,
pragmatic
stop.
is usually defined as
computer, stop.
action.
Pragmatic as some
an adjective,
pragmatic
is
computer
usually defined as
stop. Pragmatic means how it pertains to like applying something to a certain end, kind of like the practical approach, a military one. Okay, so Claude Shannon's definition, where information reduces uncertainty, let's elaborate on that. The difference between two states of uncertainty before and after a message has been received. A message carries information inasmuch as it conveys something not already known. The same message can have different influence or impacts depending on the states of the recipients. A meme as a subset of information could have different consequences for different recipients. All of that makes sense to me. Transmitted by one or more primary sources. A primary source either originates a new original meme or a variation of an existing meme or resuscitates a previous meme. For example, one that has been dormant or otherwise unknown to the current recipients. Think about how people cross-post between platforms, how old Tumblr posts become popular on Reddit or on TikTok, right? A single primary source can be sufficient for a meme, and is usually the case for original memes. There's usually a single primary source for original memes, but not always. Because communication is now inexpensive, a single primary source can transmit the meme to hundreds or thousands of recipients. A group may also originate a meme, and one or more members of the group may then transmit the meme to any number of recipients. A meme doesn't need to have one single person as its source. Transmitted to recipients who, as secondary sources, retransmit the information to at least an order of magnitude more recipients than the primary source. At minimum, there's one primary source, then there must be at least 10 recipients of the meme when it is retransmitted by one or more secondary sources. While 10 is an arbitrary number, as an order of magnitude increment, it serves as a filter to distinguish memes from ordinary discourse. 10 they're using as a threshold. The requirement that a meme be retransmitted in at least one cycle also serves as filter to distinguish memes from non-memes. Where propagation and or the information persists at least 10 hours as another constraint to distinguish memes from ordinary discourse, at a minimum the meme must be transmitted over a period of 10 hours or persist for at least 10 hours. The 10-hour minimum applies to either propagation or persistence, or as a minimum total for both. While 10 hours is arbitrary, it serves as a minimal propagation filter. The information has observable impact in addition to its transmission. Information may be ascribed to have impact from the act of transmitting or retransmitting it, but our definition requires additional kinds of impact. Impact may be evidenced, or, for example, as identifiable neuronal patterns in the brain or other physiological effects in individuals, or as a resulting behavior in individuals or a group of individuals, right? The significance or degree of the impact may be determined objectively or subjectively or a combination of methods, right? The meme leaves behind evidence, whether in your body or in your behavior or as an artifact in the world. Our definition of the meme has metrics contained within it to distinguish memes from non-memes. In addition, we defined metrics and submetrics so that memes can be evaluated against each other to estimate which prospective meme might be preferable for a particular application. Examine why some memes are more successful than others, and while one requires that the values of the metrics and submetrics be estimated, two requires that the values be obtained as measured data. So that measured data would be how many people, there's a primary source and then secondary source, and then how many people do those secondary sources reach the reach. And then the other metric was how long, and then how it's evidenced, I guess. It's interesting. Okay, let's keep going. Metrics and submetrics. We defined metrics and submetrics for evaluating memes. The memetic metrics are propagation, persistence, entropy, and impact. Under propagation, we have the number of recipients, that's a metric. The type of recipients, that's a metric. And the dispersion of recipients, that's a metric. So number would be there were 100 recipients. Type of recipients would mean that all 100 of these recipients were women, right? It's like a demographic. Dispersion of recipients would mean where physically, right? Like all 100 of these recipients live in a close place, or how are they dispersed in space, right? That's a clear metric. Persistence, duration of transmission. How long has this message been transmitted over time? Duration of memory. How long do people remember this thing? When do they forget and remember it? Entropy. I don't understand this part. Under 100,000 bits, medium is the information small or large, I guess, in like when in binary. Impact, individual consequence and societal consequence. The impact it would have on a singular person. For instance, a face filter having a traumatic impact on a child under 5. Societal consequence would mean like a generation of children with dysphoria or dysmorphia. I'm getting so many texts tonight. Okay. Ignore. Cool, so we're laying out some metrics of how to measure memes, and so we can compare them between each other. Characterization of mean propagation and persistence minimums. Okay, let's read the right-hand column. 0, origin of meme. 1, gossip, text message. 2, newspaper article. 3, urban legend. 4, cookbook. 5, fundamentalist insurgency. 6, political ideology. 7, major religious canon. 8, instructions on growing wheat. 9, human burial ritual. 10, instructions on making flint cutting tool. Okay. Hilarious. I guess flint cutting is a really old meme. Characterization of meme propagation and persistence. The previous characterizations of memes are intended to relate a rough order of magnitude represented by level or scale of values from 0 to 10 to examples representing the population size of recipients and duration of these category memes. That's just what the chart above was. Entropy as a metric of information. Entropy is probably a better information sizing metric than the number of words or bits because it can be applied to any language as well as symbols, signs, and images, semiotics in general. The relative importance of meme size, small to large, remains to be determined, but we have initially weighted it lower than the other metrics. At this time, we consider smaller memes to be more important than larger memes. Larger memes may all be memeplexes. The typical human brain cannot hold more than 10 chunks of information in short-term memory. I love this picture. They have this picture. Okay, interesting. I'm still not super clear on entropy, but let's keep reading. Entropy as a metric of information. Claude Shannon's mathematical theory of communication measures the amount of information in any message using a function identical to that of Boltzmann's formulation of entropy. The use of this entropy is non-controversial as long as it is used to measure the freedom of choice in messages and not semantic content, i.e. a specific message is selected from a larger set. It's non-discriminatory about what the content of the message is. It is measuring the freedom of choice in message. If it's best if we use it that way, they're saying. Okay, I don't know Boltzmann's formulation of entropy. Computer, what's Boltzmann's formulation of entropy?
Here's something I found on reference.com. Entropy measures the amount of disorder in a physical system, such as the arrangement of molecules in a gas or atoms in a crystal.
Right. Okay. I kind of knew that. Okay, I don't know. Let's keep going. Entropy and information. Information, entropy, needed to select one word out of a vocabulary of 200 words is 7.6 bits. Oh god, there's math involved. Okay. So one random word out of 200 equals 7.6 bits. That is, the word is within the first 100 words or the second 100 words. It takes 1 bit to determine that, or one guess as to which of the two sets it was in. If the word is in the first 100 words, it takes another bit to determine between 50 and so on. Oh, okay, so that's how the 7.6 comes around. Likewise, a 50-word meme requires 380 bits. Nothing is indicated about the meaning or significance of the message that results from selecting and stringing together the 50 words. I don't understand that part. Okay. Because of its logarithmic nature, the quantity of information needed to isolate one item remains very modest as the total set of items increases enormously. For example, the sample space is 200,000 word vocabulary. A 50-word meme requires only 714 bits. Okay, so the size of the vocabulary factors in too, not just how many words are in the meme. To require how many bits, which means choices between one and the other. So that makes sense to me. Bits means binary, so 50 becomes 25 and 25. The answer, the one word you're looking for, is in one of these sets, and then that set divides, and so forth, until you get that one piece of information that you're ending up with, like a random word generator. A problem arises when entropy is used as a measure of informational order and disorder. For example, a manager has a desk with mounds of paper covering it. Is this a high or low entropy case? The manager's associate cannot find a paper he is searching for until he has made a large number of guesses, separating the piles of papers, a very high entropy case. But the manager knows exactly where every paper is located. The mounds of paper are quite organized in her mind, and it would take her no guesses to find the crucial paper, a very low entropy case. Both cases concern the same set of items, but two different observers. Entropy then becomes a subjective measure of information, and this can be a disturbing concept to some. I understand that completely. That makes complete sense to me, actually. Entropy does not just mean chaos. Entropy could also mean a perfectly formed pyramid. That could happen within entropy because it's random selection, kind of. And the observer changes how much entropy, I guess, is in a set of things, because the observer has their own cultural biases, I guess, and language that they know, and how much, what information and knowledge they have. I don't know. Yeah, exactly, I think. The entropy of a meme, whether long or short, can be estimated and calculated from the individual letters or symbols based on the total number in the originating set, or from the individual words based on the vocabulary of the originating set. For example, the Oxford English Dictionary contains 600,000 words, and spelling bee contestants study perhaps just under 600,000 words. But in reality, the average vocabulary of an American English speaker is estimated between 10,000 and 200,000 words, or optimistically 50 to 70,000 words. The average American would actually use only a fraction of that vocabulary. Typically, there are about 800 words per page with 12-point Times Roman font, although publications vary considerably in the number of words on pages. Shannon calculated the entropy per letter of an 8-letter chunk of English as 2.3 bits per letter using a 26-character set. Oh my god. Assuming a vocabulary of 30,000 words, the entropy of a single word is about 15 bits. The following table shows the entropy as a function of the number of English words in memes. Most memes of military worth are 10 to 100,000 words, or an entropy of 150 to 1.5 million bits. Like, the entropy measurement of memes has to do with the observer's vocabulary and how many words are in the meme, and they calculate through a formula the bit size of that meme, and has to do kind of with the uniqueness of the words, because I feel like more unique words are harder to pick. Is that true? Because the frequency is less. It makes it more unique, and therefore probably requires more bits. Or maybe that wasn't really in any of this. I'm just thinking. I don't know. This part is funny, I think, because we're trying to, figure out a math for memes base, essentially. Okay, here's entropy as a function of meme size. Let's read the right-hand column. From smallest to largest, an exclamation, hurrah, a catchphrase, a slogan, a soundbite, a prayer, our Father who art in heaven, flyer, poster, advertisement, political speech, sermon, polemic, blog, field manual, ideological indoctrination, manifesto, Bible, Quran, abridged dictionary, unabridged dictionary, religious canon, Federal Register, Encyclopedia Britannica, Wikipedia, instructions for building nuclear submarine. So this is like smallest bits to largest bits, like the smallest bit being an exclamation point and the largest bit being instructions for building nuclear submarine, which comes with more bits than Wikipedia. That's crazy. Okay, sure, we'll take it. Let's move on. Memetic, metrics, and submetrics. Continued. A threshold metric is propagation. The submetrics for propagation are number of recipients, types of recipients, and dispersion of recipients. Depending on the problem under consideration, the type of recipients might be characterized or categorized by their economic, social, educational class, ethnicity, culture, religion, gender, blah, blah, blah. So this is like what people in marketing do. They divide people by different, categories across gender, class, race, and, economic status. And they look at trends among these categories of people to decide what to market to them and what to sell and how to sell it, how to talk about what they're selling. So the same can be said with memes propagation, and it's one way to, it's a submetric, I guess, for propagation. Depending on the problem under consideration, the dispersion of recipients might be categorized as local, tribal, familial, regional, national, global, etc. Like, they're also going to be measuring where the people who are affected by the meme are in space, whether they're family, a household, a neighborhood, etc. Memetic metrics and submetrics. Another memetic threshold is the persistence one, which is the time factor. The submetrics of persistence distinguish between the duration of the transmission of the meme and the duration of in memory or storage. So a meme, as long as a meme is stored somewhere in memory, it always has the chance of being retransmitted, right? So how long does it persist in the memory of a computer or a person is important, because the longer it endures, the more chances it has to transmit and continue enduring, basically. Submetrics or metric entropy distinguish between the size of the meme, which is a formula they made up based on vocabulary and how many bits are in the meme, basically. And then impact, which impact has to do with how it affects individuals or how it affects society. So that's what basically it. The impact part has to do with measuring individual impact and societal impact. So here's the meme metrics and submetrics again. We already talked about this, but just to look back on this now and to look at the propagation, which means kind of who and how many people. It's kind of measuring the people. Persistence is kind of measuring its time, how much time has it taken up. Entropy kind of measures how much space it takes up in a metaphysical sense, like how much informational space it takes up. And then impact kind of measures, this one seems like the most loose to me, individual consequence and societal consequence. It measures consequences on individuals and on societies, which I think is a little bit more subjective, but I get it. Memetic metrics were weighted using an analytic hierarchy process, so they're not all weighted the same. This is an effort to not etch in stone, and it should be revised as necessary, including because of experimental evidence. But it helps determine the relative importance and weights the priorities of the metrics, and can be used to evaluate or score alternative memes and then rank and order them. So when we have this metric system AHP, it kind of simplifies the decision process through problem structuring, decomposition, and pairwise comparisons. Oh gosh, okay. After defining metrics and submetrics, pairwise comparisons and a numerological scoring system are used to weight the metrics and submetrics and evaluate and rank alternative memes against. Okay, so look, they've weighted them. So the metrics are not considered equally. Some are more important than others, or considered more important in this metric, which isn't set in stone. Like they said, this can be changed. Anyone could assign value to the different effects, right? The metrics that we're using to measure the meme's effects. The propagation metric is deemed more important than persistence because it's more easily measured or estimated, and more relevant concerning memes of military worth, especially in the near term. Again, all of this information is funneled through the perspective of how it can be applied for the US military. And so propagation, this makes sense because propagation is more easily measured than how many people is way easier to measure than time, right? And memory. So propagation is weighted higher, I agree. The impact metric is deemed somewhat less important than persistence because it is more difficult to measure, especially in the real world. That's exactly what I was saying before. That's the hardest one, I feel like. So impact may be considered in the real world in the near term. In a model with a God's eye view, impact might be considered the most important metric. With a God's eye view, thank you for bringing God into this, because if you have the God's eye view, then yes, the individual and societal impact are extremely important, and maybe the most important for us as people, but the hardest to measure. That's what God is. God is that which we cannot measure. Okay, the entropy metric is deemed least important because the size of a meme, while influential, is not critical in its ability to propagate, especially for digital media. Correct. That makes sense. The entropy does seem less important to me. For the propagation submetrics, the number of recipients is more heavily weighted than the type or dispersion of recipients. Submetrics because it's more easily measured than the other submetrics, and it alone can serve as a useful crude indicator for successful propagation. That's true. The number of recipients, plain and simple. But once you add type is really subjective. Where do we draw the line around a type? We'll have to create another set of rules to define that type. That is just more complicated, and I understand why it's weighted less, and same with dispersion, I guess. Although I think dispersion can be, probably for military reasons, very useful, right? The type of and dispersion remains and demographic details which refine the efficacy of the meme's dispersion but are not as important as the sheer number. Sheer number is always number one to these guys. Weighted metrics and submetrics. Oh, it's so funny because I have a cuckoo clock somewhat kind of like this. For the persistence submetrics, the duration of the transmission of the meme is deemed somewhat more important than the duration of the memory in the mind or artifact of the meme because it's easier to measure and more important for memes of immediate military worth. Military is dealing short term. They're not worried about long-term memory. They need to work in the here and now, and so that's why duration of transmission is more important. How long is this transmitted? And you could measure that in a more easily, I guess, because you could measure each transmission on a timeline, right? Transmitted, long gap, transmitted, and you could see it dying, or picking up by, rate of transmission. Memory is more dormant, it's held, but it's not necessarily active. I could understand why that's harder to measure. For the entropy submetric, the small subcategorization is deemed more important than medium, which is deemed more important than large. The smaller, the better, right? Despite meme size being less important with digital media, the human brain is still size and retention limited and is generally more responsive to briefer memes. For impact submetrics, the societal consequences of memes are deemed more important than the individual consequences. I guess, that does make sense. We made an initial attempt to create a method for deriving numbers to characterize memes so they could be conveniently evaluated against one another. The equation includes the previous defined metrics, and the equation is an initial hack at the problem and is intended to elicit comments or questions for improvement. Experimental results are likely to alter the notion of memetic fitness. Mathematics is one of the essential emanations of the human spirit, a thing to be valued in and for itself, like art or poetry. That's true. I like that. A memetics fitness factor. Okay, so here is an equation. M equals P R P E I / S, where PR is propagation, number of people, PE is persistence over time, I is impact, and then divided by entropy. So the memetic fitness equals its propagation multiplied by its persistence multiplied by its impact divided by entropy. The lower the entropy, the better, right? That's going to give us a higher number for the memetic fitness. Wikipedia, all of Wikipedia isn't very memetically fit, even though it has such a high bit number. Okay, cool. Memetic fitness is given in transformed units of person hours over bit. This seems appropriate in that it is characterized the level of effort expended in various ways per unit information in the meme. With a different derivation, memetic fitness might be defined as a dimensionless number. Okay. Like it can't be put on a plane. This is a funny attempt. They're trying. We love it. Good. And here's another equation. Oh my god, these are all different equations of how we can... Okay, here's a prop for propagation. Oh, this is what propagation equals. Propagation equals a number of recipients. That's what R1 is. Log 10n. Don't know what that means. R2 is the characterization of the recipients. So, but they're not using R2 or R3. So, because different ways. Number, kind of recipients, and dispersion of recipients. W1, W2, W3, weighting factors for R1. Can't read this one, skip. Oh my god, so these are really interesting, I guess. We could, but I don't feel like getting into them. Let's stop here. This is the first fitness factor equation I just said a couple slides ago. So M is directly proportional to propagation, persistence, and impact, and inversely proportional to entropy. Yeah. A conjecture is that smaller memes, lower entropy, lead to a higher fitness factor than larger memes. Just what I said before. Units are person hours over bits. That part... Okay. Person hours, that's hard for me to swallow. The hypothesis is that the greater the effort over bit in the meme, the more important the meme. High effort, low bit. We understand bit being like minimal information, right? So that makes so much sense. The more important the meme. Love that. Okay. Successful replication and propagation. Oh my god. Content warning. Successful replication and propagation of meme independent of usual social criteria of good or bad. Good ideas become extinct while bad ideas flourish, obviously. A successful insurgency requires the active support of few and the acquiescence of many. This is dark. You know, there is no moral good or bad in this, and they're showing that memes. It's harsh. Memes like genes do not have cognition or foresight. They have algorithms which drive natural selection. Okay, if you say so. The evolutionary algorithm generates complex entities from simple entities, a process for creating design out of chaos without the aid of mind. Variation, abundance of different elements. Hereditary or replication elements can create copies or replicas of themselves. Differential fitness, number of copies of created elements varies depending on interactions among features of the elements and features of the environment in which it persists. There's a wide array of things, like lots of differentiating factors between things, then maybe one of them will survive. You know, that's why that's what differential fitness means, I think. Replicators. The evolutionary algorithm can run on different substrates, genes and memes. So considering gene a substrate and meme a substrate, evolutionary algorithms can run on either. Humans are the product of two replicators, genes and memes. Memes might explain why humans constantly think and talk. Excessively large human brains, I guess compared to the size of our body. Non-genetic altruism and suicide bombers. Non-genetic altruism. A computer define altruism?
Altruism is usually defined as the principle or practice of unselfish concern for or devotion to the welfare of others, opposed to egoism. For more, ask me to give you more definitions for altruism.
Okay, got it. Any behavior adverse to genetic survival. Example memes, ideas, tunes, poems, catchphrases, fashion, technological processes, fables, religion, graffiti, images, novels, movies, insurgent or terrorist culture, military culture, training and tactics, strategy, doctrine, and policy. That was in the first video. This is great. So, yeah, they're saying humans, whatever that means, are the product of two replicators, genes and memes. Genes being biological and memes being cultural. Why we have language, right? Like, why do humans have this advanced language? Because memes are creating us, apparently. Meme life cycle. Host transmits meme intentionally or unintentionally. It doesn't matter the intention. Transmission vector. Meme received and encoded by host. Meme transmitted to new host via stone engraving, speech, text, image, observed behavior, email, through sign, through gesture, through behavior. Vector host relationship here in the circle. Vector transmits, host infection, coding, decoding. Okay, this is interesting. I'm not going to read that whole chart though. Meme life cycle resemble Claude Shannon's iconic schematic of a general communication system. Let's see. So there's information source, message, transmitter, signal leading to a box, and there's noise source leading to a box. And then coming from the box is a received signal, receiver, message, and destination. Then there are these great Matrix, Alex Gray photos and people in an office. This is a good one. I like this one. Message, signal, received signal, message, destination. All right, let's move on. Meme life cycle. New potential host. Meme received and decoded. Becomes host if meme satisfies selection and fitness criteria. New host replicates and transmits meme, perhaps with a different vector. There's a great excess of potential memes over available brains. Transmission. Selection and fitness criteria. Motivation and hooks. Threats. Hell. Rewards. Heaven. Beneficial or entertaining. Appreciative, direct feedback. Those are motivational and hooks for fitness criteria, because people, right, information is coming in and we are selecting information, right? We're selecting information. So some things we reject and some things we accept. And sometimes we're doing that not consciously. Sometimes we are seeking things that don't serve us. And so there are lots of different reasons that we have filters up. Some are these motivation hooks, right? Hell, heaven, entertainment, fit existing constructs, which means receptive paradigms or belief systems. This fits into a system I already embody. They reinforce some of my complexes, and that's some reason people select for memes. Suitable storage, memory or media. Oh, the meme fits the memory, fits into your storage capacity, right? We can only hold 10 bits of information at once or something. And enduring vectors, chiseled in stone, certain books, vectors that are outside humans. Computers, stone, statues are probably one of the ones that last the longest, right? They're enduring vectors. Memes can be transmitted without true communication. The sender can pass memes to the receiver using deception where the intent of the sender is not communicated to the receiver. Or memes might be diffused through a population without overt imitation by receivers. Memetic mutations can be directed by purposeful human decision-making as well as by random processes, Lamarckian as well as Darwinian evolution. With directed processes, Lamarckian, memetics becomes analogous to genetic engineering. Gotcha. Genetic engineering is happening, and memetic engineering is happening. That's that. We are at 40 minutes here. The next part goes into the military. I like to keep the videos at 40 minutes. I kept the first one at 40 minutes. I made this one before I got any feedback, but I'm still open to your feedback, and I'm gonna add this to the playlist. Thought this was really helpful actually, and I think I'm gonna try to finish this document tonight maybe and keep reading if I can, but if I get fatigued I will stop. Anyway, make sure you're subscribed, make sure to comment, because I'm really curious what you guys are getting from this, if anything. If you have any feedback for my style, maybe I should do this on live, because it might be fun and we could do live like questioning together. And I don't know, let me know if that's something you'd be into. Anyway, this video is over. Thanks for watching. Stop recording.